20,000 years ago, on the frozen edge of an ice age, a wolf did something no wolf had ever done. Instead of running from the fire, it stepped closer. That single decision, one animal choosing not to flee, would change the future of our entire species. It gave us the very first dog, and it may have helped humans survive when almost everything else was trying to kill us. But here is the part nobody tells you. Humans probably did not tame the wolf tamed itself. To understand the first dog, you have to picture a world that no longer exists. The last ice age. Ice sheets a mile thick pressing down from the north. Winters that lasted most of the year. Humans were not the rulers of this world. We were one hungry, fragile species among many. No farms, no stores of grain. If the hunt failed, the family died. It was that simple. And sharing that frozen landscape was the most successful predator of the age, the gray wolf. Wolves could run for hours without tiring, smell a wounded animal from miles away, and bring down prey 10 times their size by working as one mind with many bodies. We hunted the same prey, in the same places, through the same brutal winters. By every rule of nature, we should have been enemies. But rivals who are very much alike sometimes notice something in each other. Both wolves and humans lived in tight family groups. Both cooperated to hunt. Both shared food with their young. Both defended their weak. Both understood loyalty and rank and the strange comfort of belonging to something larger than yourself. We were, in a strange way, looking at a mirror across the snow, and around the edges of the human camps, something was left behind. Scraps, bones, marrow, the waste of the hunt, thrown out into the dark where nobody wanted it. To a starving wolf in an ice age winter, that pile of scraps was a fortune. Now imagine a pack of wolves near a human camp. Most of them are terrified of people, and for good reason. Humans carried fire, humans carried spears. But in every litter, some animals are just a little braver than the rest, a little calmer, a little more curious. Their fear switch sits just a fraction further away. When the humans threw away their scraps, it was the bravest wolves who dared to creep in and eat. The nervous ones stayed hungry in the dark, and here is where nature quietly rigged the game. The calm, bold wolves ate better. They survived the winter. They raised more pups, and those pups inherited that same calmness. Generation after generation, the wolves living near humans were selected not for strength, not for speed, but for friendliness. Scientists call this self-domestication. The wolves were not captured, they were not trained, they evolved toward us, because being near humans paid off. Nobody planned it. No caveman woke up and decided to invent the dog. There was no first owner and no first leash. It happened slowly, over thousands of years, one brave, hungry animal at a time, at the edge of 10,000 different fires. And then something bizarre started to happen to their bodies. As these wolves became tamer, they began to look different. Their ears grew floppy, their tails curled and started to wag, their coats broke into patches of new colors, their faces softened, almost puppy-like, even as adults. They started to look less like hunters and more like the animal sleeping in your house right now. This is one of the strangest patterns in all of biology. When you breed an animal purely for friendliness, all of these traits show up as a package, even though nobody selected for any of them. Tameness seems to drag the rest along with it, like a thread pulling on a hidden knot deep inside the animal. We know this because in the 1950s, a Russian scientist decided to test it. His name was Dmitry Belyaev, and he took wild silver foxes, animals so aggressive that handlers needed thick gloves just to feed them. He did not train them. He simply chose the calmest ones in each generation and let them breed. That was the only rule. Within a handful of generations, the foxes stopped snarling. They wagged their tails when humans approached. They whined for attention. Their ears drooped. Their coats broke into white patches. Some began to bark, something wild foxes almost never do. In just a few decades, they looked and acted like dogs. It was living proof of how the wolf became the dog, replayed in fast-forward, right in front of our eyes. Once wolves and humans stopped fearing each other, something powerful was unlocked. Partnership. The dog could smell what we could not, hear what we could not, run faster, track farther, and sense danger long before we did. And in return, we shared our food, our fire, and our shelter. It was the first deal our species ever made with another, and neither side ever signed a thing. Together, we became something neither of us could be alone. A hunter with a dog could find prey that a hunter alone would walk straight past. A camp with dogs could sleep through the night because something with better ears was listening. Some scientists believe this alliance gave our ancestors a crucial edge during the harshest years of the Ice Age. But the strangest change of all was not in their bodies. It was in their minds. Dogs learned to read us. Point at something, and a dog will look where you point, something even chimpanzees, our closest relatives, struggle to do. Dogs watch our faces, they track our eyes, they learned our language before we ever learned theirs. And we know the bond became real, because we buried them with love. In Germany, in a place called Bonn-Oberkassel, archaeologists found a grave 14,000 years old. Inside, a man, a woman, and a dog. The dog was young when it died, and when they studied its teeth, they found something remarkable. As a puppy, it had been desperately sick with a disease that should have killed it within days. It could not have hunted. It could not have guarded. It could not have warned anyone. For weeks, it would have needed water, warmth, and food brought to it by hand. Someone did that. Someone in that Ice Age camp, in a world where every calorie was survival, chose to spend weeks nursing an animal that could give nothing back. And when the dog eventually died, they laid it in the ground beside them so that whatever came next, none of them would go alone. That is not the grave of a tool. That is the grave of a friend. Every dog alive today, every tiny lapdog, every giant hound, every mutt asleep on a couch right now, carries the ghost of that first brave wolf who stepped toward the fire instead of away from it. When your dog looks into your eyes, it is finishing a conversation that started 20,000 years ago, in the snow. We did not just tame a wild animal. We formed the oldest friendship in human history, tens of thousands of years before farms, before cities, before writing. Before we tamed anything else on Earth, we made a friend. And it all began with a single choice on a freezing night at the edge of the firelight. If this story moved you, there are thousands more where it came from, the strange, forgotten origins of everything. Subscribe, and let's uncover the next one together.